For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Now, you can't live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Cue time.
Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Ville, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, yes.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington still on assignment, and Charles, it's the quiet before the storm.
Still on cloud nine, Doc. Still on cloud nine.
Maybe that's the quiet before the storm.
That was probably the quiet.
You still up there in the cloud, huh?
There you go.
I'm not mad. Welcome to episode 217 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show is covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, along with my co-host Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCWA's 1230 AM studios with Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home, Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. We're about to get on our first guest, but Charles, as you still on cloud nine, I guess I purposely have moved forward so fast and furious you would believe.
I understand.
As we bring on our guests, how you doing? Any big news you got out there before we get straight to our interview?
Yeah, well, I think the big news is everybody's waiting on tomorrow to see what the G-Men are going to unveil in regards to their new head football coach, so that you have that information out there. So looking forward to it. And then, you know, it's the week before the Celebration Bowl. There'll be a lot of build up going into the Celebration Bowl. Two great teams, Jackson State and South Carolina State. And then, you know, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of basketball. We talked a little bit about it on Sunday, but we talked with Coach Johnny Jones. But we've had some great HBCU basketball being played thus far early this season. So a lot of stuff to get into. We'll get into it.
Yeah, I believe we have a guest coming in here, Yolanda Claymore. She can come on in as we get into it. You know, I always talk about the business of HBCU sports. So this episode, we're going to talk about the economic component of business of sports as it relates to the city of Jackson, as we have the communication manager of visitjackson.com. It's going to give us a little insight in terms of the economics of Jackson State University playing these home games. What does it mean all year long? And then culminating with the 2021 Cricket Wireless SWAC Football Championship game presented by Pepsi Zero. Man, that's a lot of names in there, a lot of sponsors. That must mean there's a lot of money. How you doing today, Yolanda?
I'm great. What about you?
Doing well. I'm so glad that you could take out a little time of your busy schedule and talk to us really about, when we say economics and sports and business of sports, can you give us a little more clarification what that is? But before we get into that first question, please tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you're from, if you're connected with HBCUs, and how ultimately you got to visitjackson.com.
I am a graduate of Tougaloo College, which is a private HBCU, but a very strong supporter of JSU. My uncle was the head of security at Jackson State in the 70s. My mom went there, my sister went there, cousins. So it's been a part of my family. I recall my uncle stopping the parade in my mind for homecoming to pass me my tickets for the game with my birthday present. So I have a lot of fun memories when it comes to Jackson State University, I love. I am originally from San Diego, moved to Mississippi, and I've been with Visit Jackson from 2011 to 2018. Left and went out to our airport for about 2 years and then made my way back to Visit Jackson. So I am currently the Director of Communications for Visit Jackson.
No doubt about it. I love that you provided that historical context. And all HBCUs are embedded in their cultural community, obviously, the city, oftentimes the state. But I'd be remiss if I wouldn't admit this. There's something about Mississippi, the interconnectedness of the multiple HBCUs there, particularly in the city of Jackson, and how they are really integrated with Jackson State University. So I really appreciate you sharing
it's actually funny because when we see people that we haven't seen in a long time, we really have to figure out, did you go to Tougaloo or did you go to Jackson State? So that's how much we interchange and we're on each other's campuses. So definitely family there.
Good deal. So let's get back to that question as we get into it, and then I'll let Charles follow up with the question there. Economics. What does it mean when we talk about economics and sports as it relates to, visit jackson.com?
Well, it's big business. Sports is big business. And, unfortunately, Jackson State or the city of Jackson has not been privy to that big business in a very long time. We have to go back to probably W.C. Gordon days or even Coach Comedy, Big Daddy Carson, all those coaches. When they were here, we had a winning program. Of course, you're going to have more support, more tickets sold, more money flowing in the city. But we are certainly ecstatic to have Coach Prime and his team here and the winning program that they produce that has attracted big business. I mean, we didn't have General Motors and Pepsi and all these other sponsors coming to the table until this kind of winning season came along.
Great point. Charles, follow up a question?
Sure, and I wanted to get a little bit more into what exactly does Visit Jackson do for the city of Jackson and how there's that interconnectivity with Jackson State University.
Well, we are the official destination marketing organization for the city of Jackson. We typically market to visitors to come to Jackson. And of course, there's going to be that relationship with our major universities, especially Jackson State being the largest university in the capital city. And it's important that we have a great partnership. And of course, we were in bed with Jackson State way before Coach Prime because they are vital to our community. So there's a strong relationship there. We partner with them to ensure that whatever information that is needed to bring people into the city, that we provide that, and we partner with them to get the message out about Jackson, Mississippi, what there is that we offer here. We're known for civil rights, for music, for culinary, literature, and there's so many things that happen right here in Jackson, Mississippi that not only impacted our city, our state, but it's etched in the fabric of America. When you think about the civil rights movement, when you think about Walter Payton, when you think about all these different icons that Jackson has had privy to nurture and culture into America.
I want to follow up. There was an article out there that talked about a $30 million impact over the season or what have you. First of all, how does that kind of come together and calculate it? We don't have to go too deep in it for the economists out here, but just in general. And then the follow-up question would be, what other type of events would be correlative to that? Would be similar at that level of impact.
Okay. Well, basically, we utilize a tourism academy or an industry respected calculating device that is industry-wide, and it calculates based upon the number of attendees. And then there is different sectors that it considers. It considers whether they are a daytime visitor, whether they are in driving distance, whether they still may not spend the night, but they're in driving distance and they may come in and eat in your city. And then, of course, you have that overnight factor where they're going to lodge in your city and they're going to stay here and spend a little bit more money. You have so many different sectors that it considers in that number, and it varies from time to time. Depending on the game, like an Alcorn game may factor differently than a Prairie View game because of the rivalries and the history with those two different universities. So you may consider that 70% are daytime visitors and only 30% are overnight visitors for one game, but it may vary a little bit from that number. And then that number is calculated to identify what those people would spend as a daytime visitor versus a overnight visitor in the city.
Great point you make there when you talk about that, because one team, obviously, a lot of the fans that would come in would probably have to fly, which means they're more likely going to stay overnight. You come with a relatively local program, they're more likely a part of them may not stay overnight. They may come in. I'm glad that you shared that component of it. Anything else that we may need to consider that we really didn't ask you about understanding Visit Jackson.com, or anything you want to say about having folks visit that may not have Visit Jackson?
Well, again, I have to say that Visit Jackson has a lot to offer. The city of Jackson has a lot to offer. A lot of people overlook us, and because we have such bad press as far as the negativity concerning the state of Mississippi alone. And then when you add in Jackson, there's a tendency to not value what we have to offer. But again, you cannot tell the civil rights story without Jackson, Mississippi. Hezekiah Watkins, who was the youngest freedom rider, was arrested in prison as a 13-year-old boy right here in Jackson, Mississippi. We have activists that, again, you can't tell the story without Medgar Evers, who was the Martin Luther King of Mississippi, and carried the torch and really, really allowed me to sit where I stand today. And then when you talk about music, we have blues music. We have over 13 blues trail markers in the city of Jackson. When you think about Jackson, there's the historic Ferris Street that you can go get your smoke from Big Apple Inn, and that's authentic to Jackson. And I guarantee you, when Charles comes home, he's got to go over there and get some smokes.
I have to. Yeah, I have to.
It's so true. I stayed right there off Capitol, and I saw one of those placards there, and I was like, "Oh, this is nice." And I gotta be careful how I put this out there, but I took it all in. So I made sure I did my business.
Yes. And then when you think about Jackson, the hospitality effect. I don't know if you all saw the young man who was from Ole Miss that went viral.
Yes, I did.
I mean, but that's the kind of experience that you're going to have in Jackson, and it doesn't matter what color you are, what your any kind of preference you have, you're going to be treated with hospitality, and because we are the city with soul.
No doubt about it. I feel it, and as I said, Charles, a lot of places I didn't quite get to. I do like to partake now. I am working out, which means I can get what I want to and treat myself really well when it's time. Some places I got to get back to. So I will be coming back to Jackson. There's no doubt about it.
Be sure to hit me up when you come.
All right, I will do that.
So I can show you the city.
Okay, hey, that's the deal. You ain't got to ask me twice.
Well, let me just say real quickly that when you think about the economic impact that Jackson State has on the city, on the state, $30 million of economic impact. A lot of people criticize what that means for Jackson State, but it's like they envision a room with $30 million and city officials or whoever can take advantage of that money, but that's not how it works. Right. This money is figured based upon those different sectors. Like I said, whether it's lodging, whether it's restaurants, whether it's business services, retail, transportation, so many different space rental, because, HBCU, we're going to have a party after the game. So even those things are factored in, and that still reciprocates back to Jackson State via taxes, because you have to take taxes in everything that we do, whether that's city or state, which goes back into the university. And on top of that, it gives the JSU so much more marketability, more TV coverage. When there is a supply and demand, you have limited space at the stadium. So now they're in a position where those tailgates might be a little bit higher. the advertisement opportunities are probably going to go up a little bit, and ticket prices will even go up. So, and then you have all those businesses that were kind of sitting on the sidelines this year, trying to see okay, they know Coach Prime as prime time, but how is he going to empower his team to be a winning team? And now that they see that they are SWAC champions, okay, let me invest a little bit more money into Jackson State.
Sure.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Well said. This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're visited by Yolanda Claymore, of Communication Manager of VisitJackson.com. I want to say thank you for your time. We're going to get into this break, and we'll get right back to it. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us a little information about the economics of sports and more about Jackson in itself.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right
back. Q-Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q-Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q-Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q-Time, an Urban Passport member.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As you see, we're back into it with our second interview, none other than the Executive Director of the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl, and that would be Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. It's a big one. You had your media day this morning. Looks like you still dressed up and prepared to go. got your golf design in the background, man. Things must be going well for you.
Well, you know, I thought I'd at least put a background to say of where I wish I could be right now. But as we well know, I you know, we're grinding at this moment, and just really excited about this upcoming Celebration Bowl.
Certainly, really appreciate you taking your time, as I know you're quite busy. So we'll get to it, straight to it. First question I had, I read out there, it seems like the tickets are going briskly. In fact, I read somewhere that essentially the lower bowl was sold out. You had to extend for more tickets, maybe standing room. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, we're really excited. The lower bowl sold out actually on Sunday. We opened another level, and we currently now have somewhere around 1,000 or just inside 1,000 tickets left. So fans out there who are interested in going, you know, you have an opportunity still, but there's no question about it that this game is going to be a sellout.
Wow.
Well, with that being said, for those that have already booked maybe airlines and in rooms and are searching for tickets, one, we encourage them to get them right now. You can still watch the show, but go ahead and log in and get your tickets. I don't want you to say that it was because of inside the HBCU Sports Lab you didn't get your tickets. But for whatever reason, if something comes up, but they still want to be there and a part of the event, tell us about some of the events that are going on that they can partake, even if they maybe can't get in the stadium, even with standing room on.
Well, you know, this is a great week. This is probably, I don't want to say probably, it is the most extensive Cricket Celebration Bowl weekend of activities that we've ever had. We starting out with welcoming the teams. The teams are coming in on Wednesday, and courtesy of Delta Airlines, they're flying in on charters to bring them in and out of Atlanta. So we're starting in a first class way, and we'll have events for them on Wednesday night. We have starting again on Thursday, there is a series of things that are related to the teams. But as far as fans are concerned, on Thursday night, we have our Champion Circle Showcase at the College Football Hall of Fame. That's going to be outstanding. There's a luncheon on Friday where we're honoring roasting Dr. Dennis Thomas, who's retiring as or transitioning, as he likes to say, as commissioner of the MEAC conference. And then, of course, Friday night, the SWAC conference and Dr. Charles McClellan are hosting the SWAC Hall of Fame inductions dinner, which is going to be outstanding at the Omni Hotel. That encourage, if you haven't gotten tickets to either one of those events I just mentioned, you should please do so, because I'm sure that's also going to be a sellout event as well. But then Saturday morning is when it really gets live for fans at our Coca-Cola fan experience. We're going to start, which opens at 8:30 in the morning. I've heard, gosh, John, that's awfully early. But you know what? Early birds get the worms. And I'm going to equate that to the same thing we have with our tickets. Early birds getting the worms.
Well said.
So, but at 9 a.m., we've got the Marching 101 of South Carolina State and the Sonic Boom of the South in facing off in a band jamboree that's going to allow fans to be up close, personal, and see these two tremendous marching bands, play back and forth to each other. Basically, we're taking the zero quarter and putting it right down there with the fans, and that's going to be exciting. And then we have two great high school bands there as well, but there's food, there's activations from our corporate partners, and then we're going to culminate that with a show by Big Boy just before we head into the stadium for the kickoff of the Cricket Celebration Bowl matchup with Jackson State and South Carolina State. But we also have a surprise for fans who are there. Going to thank the Walt Disney Company because they're going to be unveiling Drum Major Mickey, which will be the first to have Mickey at an HBCU game, and he's currently being trained as we speak by drum majors from Jackson State, Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and from Howard. So that's going to be outstanding, and Drum Major Mickey will be opening the halftime show. So stay tuned to your social media. You're going to see some some images being released later in the week, sort of giving you a peek preview of what Drum Major Mick is going to look like. We've had the opportunity to see it, and I'm telling you, it is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. That's the word I was going to use. I'm just smiling from ear to ear, all this information. Obviously, it's my understanding that you're moving the first night to Coca-Cola for the team's private event there, which is nice when you bring that into, so they're going to be treated in first-class manner. And then, you know, I'm excited. Friday, you got this thing called Radio Row. So you'll be able to come in and listen to Dr. Bill's Inside HBCU Sports Lab on Friday. We bring you a special edition on Radio Row. We're going to see if we can sneak John back in there. I know his schedule is busy. We might be able to see if we can sneak him for 2-3 minutes. You know, he'll find a way to sneak around that, see if we can get him latest updates and stuff like that. You know, Charles is going to be fired up. He's already lathered up. He's on cloud 9, as he said over the show. Good right now. It's good to be the king. It's good to be the king. Oh, man. King of the swag. Boy, it's been a long week with all my friends. So, Slow Burns, Waco. Cost me all my money. I've been giving up cigars so much this week, man. You think I'd have stock? It's been crazy. Let me let Charles get in here before I get all blown up and just my frustration start to come out. Come on, Charles, ask questions.
Well, you know, Mr. Grant, I believe I told you maybe a Celebration Bowl ago or two. I can't wait for this Jackson State fan base to get a taste of the Celebration Bowl. And as you can well see, tickets are at a premium. I got my mom texting me like about all the things that's going on beforehand. So I'm glad you put that out there for everybody to know what's going on. But just to see the growth.
For tickets.
Oh man, it's off the chain.
I ain't got no tickets.
Right. But
Grandson just saved you. He told you they ain't got no tickets.
Right, exactly. That helped out a lot. Thank you. But to see the way the Celebration Bowl has really grown during its inception in 2015, just you have an opportunity to just kind of step back and just enjoy the anticipation of this Celebration Bowl.
Well, you know, we've had an entire year. We've had an entire year actually because of the COVID pandemic. We didn't have the game in 2020. So we know that fans are excited. They're ready to get back into this. And so we're celebrating first that championship football is back, Charles. You know, what we really are excited about is that, you know, we have 2 different teams this year. The last 5 years of the Celebration Bowl was pretty much dominated by North Carolina A&T. We did have an Alcorn, rightfully so. They were the champions. But I think over that 5-year period, others have had an opportunity to really see what it was like and anticipate the opportunity to what it would be like to get here. And let me say to Jackson State fans, it's more than you can imagine. It's like nothing you've ever experienced. Any game that you've been to today will not compare to the experience that you're about to have at the Cricket Celebration Bowl. So I want you to come to this game with no preconceived notions about, you know, any game that you've had at your stadium or any stadium that you've been to, because this is the Super Bowl. And we build it with that in mind. We create the amenities with that in mind. We create the experience for the fans with that in mind. And if you look at it, Charles, as a layered cake, we build it first with a focus on the student athletes. And then on top of that, we lay the layer of the fans that are in attendance. And then on top of that are the fans that are viewers. And so in this 3-tiered cake, having a sellout is just a wonderful chocolate icing that's on the top. And because I like chocolate cake. So chocolate icing on the top. And you know, we just can't be more pleased with how things are going right now. But I want to say again to any fans, if you're trying to get tickets, get them now. Because watching the map, Charles, has been watching Pac-Man. You know, the little dots are being gobbled up and gobbled up and gobbled up. You know, I'll go to it and I'll come back an hour later and it's completely changed. So it's going to be a great experience.
No doubt about
it.
Looking forward to it.
1 would be brownie, 2 would be a good chocolate chip cookie, 3 would be that chocolate layered cake. So, I understand. I can relate a little bit. But I wanted to get back into that concept of Super Bowl. We've heard that terminology. But people understand the Super Bowl when they refer to terms of NFL, the pageantry of it. So could you talk a little bit more of how and what is necessary to separate a bowl game, particularly of this magnitude, when you can put that framework in terms of Super Bowl, if you would, Super Bowl of HBCU games, Super Bowl HBCU Classic, Super Bowl bowls relative to HBCU. What do you have to do that fans will understand is different compared to maybe a large classic game, if you would?
Well, and that's a very good question, Dr. Cavill. Let me start by saying this. I've been around HBCU football for a long time. There isn't an HBCU major game that I have not attended. We've had the opportunity to study the field from an HBCU perspective, but I've also analyzed it from a PWI's perspective, and I've had consultants working with us, even analyzing the NFL Super Bowl. So when we speak of building the Super Bowl, we take all of those things. The marketing that goes around the Super Bowl is what starts to make it the Super Bowl. So if you notice the Super Bowl, they start for the entire week. They got media in place for an entire week, and they have a radio row. So what do we add? We add a radio row. We're the only game, especially in the HBCU sphere, that has such. The only other game that's played in that way is the college football playoff championship game, where there's a lot of media involved. So we're adding to that. You add to the fact that, look, we have Atlanta. Everybody wants to come to Atlanta. And with everything that Atlanta has to offer, either you're coming here, you got great restaurants, you've got shopping, you got friends and family. Everyone has friends and family that they know in Atlanta. You lay on top of that, Charles, a venue. There's no other venue, in my opinion, like Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I've been in the other venues as well. They're all a little bit different. But the way that Mercedes-Benz Stadium creates a real fan experience, there's nothing like it. And we heard that today in our press conference from both coaches, as they did, because they did a tour of the venue before being on the press on the presser. And if you heard and had a chance to listen to the presser, you could hear in their own voices that, wow, this is spectacular. And that's as spectacular they know will be for the players, but also we recognize it's going to be spectacular for the fan.
To your point, for those that may have not heard the presser or heard it yet, certainly, they talked about the fact that at one time they were not, as coaches, they were not proponents of it. But after talking to Broadway, at least Coach Pooh said, buddy, you talked about the fact that after he talked to his buddy, that he said, "Nah, you want to be a part of this." He said he was chasing it all the time and almost felt that he may have had a bad rabbit foot when he decided not to support it. He was so happy to get back after touring. He said, "No, this is big time. It's serious." So to your point, anything you want to add before we let you go, because we know your schedule is busy?
Well, first, I want to congratulate. I'm going to start with the leadership of both conferences. Certainly, Dr. Dennis Thomas and his leadership with the MEAC, and certainly the incoming commissioner-elect, Sonia Steels. And then on the SWAC side, Dr. Charles McClellan for his transformational leadership in the SWAC. Next, the institutions, the coaching staffs from both schools and the student athletes, and all the work that they put in this year. And then finally, I want to thank the fans. I want to thank those fans out there who are coming to the game, who stepped up and supported their schools all year long. Those who are coming to this game that have no affinity to either school, but they recognize the value of this. And we know that for everyone who can't get a ticket, tune in on Saturday to ABC, because you're watching this game is equally as important as being at the game. And so we want to thank everyone for that. Visit thecelebrationbowl.com for information and to get the final few tickets that are out there. We may try to open up some standing room only. We're talking to the venue about that right now. But as it stands today, get your tickets and make sure you're one of the lucky ones to attend this year's Cricket Celebration Bowl.
Man, it's a hot ticket, boy. I love it. I love to be able to say that about HBCU sports. That's really special. I love the energy and what you put into making it special for all those involved. Like you said, starting with the players, coaches, administrators, fans, at all those different levels, and even the media for that factor. So we appreciate you. Keep up the great work. We'll be chiming in. We'll see if we can get you back in before the Friday on Radio Row. We certainly make sure we get you there. But let us know your schedule and we see what we can do to kind of get some closing points to see as we get in the week of. I mean, it was countdown. It's getting hot and heavy in here, and so we know it'll be good. With that, we want to thank you for your time. We're going to get into this break. No problem. We're going to get in this break, Dr. Bills, inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. We'll be right back after this break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Are you
Trust the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
That was sent out on Tuesdays in there. This is Dr. DeVille inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Get a little inside information. Hope you enjoyed those interviews. We wanted to take you to the source, give you some information on the sporting economics. We talk about the business of sports. We wanted to let you know what that looks like when we talk about economic income and why it's important that you manage both having the classics, bowl games, as well as home games. How do you maximize that to make sure that your institutions are able to go back to these businesses and talk about supporting them so you can get the economic dollars that allows you to be even more competitive in your sporting events, whether it's in your conference or non-conference games for that factor. With that, I did want to get in a little bit of the MEAC offensive, defensive players of the game. I really enjoy the way the MEAC does this. They've signed up and they wait a little while instead of the end of the season. Obviously, they don't have a championship game like you see in the SWAC, where they unveil it essentially for that big game with all the players. They do unveil the players, but they save the best for the last, if you would, the offensive, defensive players as they go to the National Football Foundation. So, one, I wanted to get your thoughts on that a little bit. Obviously, you have Juwan Carter, Norfolk State graduate and defensive back, the Kobe Durant, South Carolina State, who will be in the game. So that's a fascinating matchup when you talk about these defensive players of the game. One, Jackson State has one. Obviously, South Carolina State has another. And we're going to get in maybe towards the end of the show. Certainly next week, we'll get in those specific matchups when you talk about wide receiver play, who may match up with the Kobe Durant and what that would look like. Pro potential on this guy. So fascinating moves. You got pro potential on Jackson State side of the ball. All over the field, you got pro potential. I don't think you'll have to worry about going with another draft without having an HBCU player's name. You probably get maybe one or two out of the SWAC, one or two out of the MEAC as well, and then some of your other conferences for that matter. But first, what are your thoughts on these two players? And then we'll get in maybe a little more thought in terms of how the alignment with the MEAC this year, instead of being in New York, they're in Las Vegas. That's not bad.
Right. That's not bad at all, going out for a trip to Las Vegas. I'm sure my sister-in-law will agree with that completely. But you talk about two dynamic players in Juwan Carter Young man threw for over 2,500 yards this past season, 21 touchdowns, also ran for another 390 yards, but truly a dynamic presence, dual threat quarterback for the Norfolk State Spartans, and he led that attack this past year for them. And then Jacoby Durant, I think that is going to be a fascinating watch because he is a legitimate NFL pro prospect, and he'll be going up against 6'5" receivers on either side for Jackson State. So you'll really get an opportunity to see, whether Jackson State even goes in his direction, because he is a tremendous ball player. You talk about a young man who's one of the leaders in the MEAC in terms of interceptions, passes defended, things of that nature. But truly, somebody who came into the season preseason All-American with all sorts of hype, and he lived up to it during the course of the season. So I'm looking forward to that matchup with Jacoby Durant going up against Shane Cooks or Mal Weidman or even Keith Corbin in the middle. So it's going to be a real fun watch next week with the Celebration Bowl.
And Jackson State just having fun all year long. Their wide receivers got the matchup, FAMU defensive back. We've seen what Mississippi Valley State defensive backs as a group come together and do in terms of leading the conference in interceptions. So now they got to do it on the big stage in the bowl game, the Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. So it's fun. These little matchups, man, I can't wait to dig a little further in there. We're just giving you some tease now. And you can tease a little more. You can tease a little more with that. I see it right on the tip of your tongue. Tell them what they need to start looking for now. Digging into those numbers.
And you talk to assistant coaches around the SWAC, you talk to coaches at Jackson State, and they're not going to be surprised whatsoever with anything South Carolina State brings to the table. But the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth in regards to the MEAC is the offensive line and the defensive lines. They bring lines to the Celebration Bowl every year, and for all the fireworks that we have in the SWAC in terms of scoring and things of that nature, in a lot of ways, you just have to get into a good old-fashioned slugfest with these offensive and defensive lines that the MEAC brings every year. And we've seen North Carolina A&T. They've taken over the games with regards to the offensive line. We saw Tariq Cohen, how he was able to get off in years past. We've seen the explosive offenses from North Carolina A&T. But it's the first thing out of everybody's mouth is either the defensive line or the offensive line. They're just physical. And that's something that Jackson State is going to have to really bring that physicality to this game as well, because they've been getting everybody's best punch throughout the course of the season. I don't expect any different in this Celebration Bowl game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's what's fascinating, because you're starting to see that transition in the SWAC, that physicality. We see it starting off with the Alcorn, but now you see it maturation in Jackson State, FAMU, as they've come over. They used to playing that physical style. They brought it with them. You see it even at Prairie View in terms of in the championship game in their first part of the season. What has kept them in so many games is the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, early they might have been able to put up some numbers, but really the difference in terms of them being able to close out the season and win the Western Division was what they did on the defensive side of the ball and improving that side of the ball. And again, I can't leave out Mississippi Valley State in terms of physicality. No, it may not have been played in terms of the gross number of wins, but certainly the production on that side of the ball and the growth that you see it there. And those are just a couple of teams that I wanted to bring out in terms of the physicality play of the ball. So it'll be interesting because you see a little bit of both in the SWAC. And I guess that's what happens when you expand the conference, that you'll have different styles of plays that you have to figure out. And I think it'll be interesting for Jackson State going up to South Carolina State, how that works. And then you got the fact that South Carolina State playing a smaller number of conference games, they had a wider depth of non-conference games. And so the variability of the different types of teams they played all season long allows them maybe to see a different schematic. It'll be interesting to get in to see maybe during the press conference if we can get to some of these coaches next week and ask them, is there any similarity in other teams they played that they would say is similar to what they'll see in the opposing team they play this weekend? One thing I did want to get into before we get into this last break, I wanted to ask you about that. The National Football Foundation partnering with them. Again, the last couple of years, Dr. Dennis Thomas, as he is transitioning, as he likes to say, out of the MEAC commissioner role, he had great relationships. He set this up. And this year, it went into Las Vegas. And shout out to Stephen Gaither. It went to Las Vegas. And I can understand why he decided to find a reason to get to Las Vegas. And he dressed the part. Shout out to my man, Stephen Gaither, looking like money literally looking like money when he goes.
Dapper.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm not mad at him at all, other than the fact that he left me. Next time, you need to let a brother know. I get down there with you. I can hold it up for a little bit of light out there for HBCU game day. You know, we partner on some things. We got to be ugly to each other. Just let me know. Shout out to Tyler Carr. We're going to tell it. We're going to tell it. But on seriousness, National Football Foundation and the SWAC, Dennis Thomas, and now the commissioner-elect Steele, furthering this. What do you think about this relationship and the uniqueness and experience for those young folks to get to go on this grandiose stage and to get their announcements of being offensive, defensive player amongst all these dignitaries?
Well, we've talked about it on the show, the student athlete experience, and you talk about the relationships that Dr. Dennis Thomas has put in place throughout his illustrious career, this being another one. But it had to be the experience of a lifetime to go be presented an award for Offensive Defensive Player of the Year at this National Football Foundation Awards dinner amongst all your peers. So, I mean, that says something. And that's the sort of student experience that sticks and burns in your mind for the rest of your life. So for Dr. Thomas to be able to put this in place via his relationships, you can't say enough about that. And he's just done so much for the HBCU culture, for HBCU sports. As you mentioned, he's transitioning to another phase of life, but just his earmark that he has done for HBCU sports, you can't speak enough about it.
Great points you made. Appreciate you sharing that. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Professor Bishop and I will be right back after this last break. We're going into the fourth quarter. Give it to you hard and heavy. Stick with us.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
The sporting HBCU diaspora, in a lot of ways, it means what we are to each other. Boy, this show took place in Jackson, Mississippi. Oh, man, we'll get in there a little later. Let me give some love. MEAC sees 5 programs ranked in the latest NTCA poll. MEACsports.com, they talk about the MEAC 5 programs ranked in the top 25 for the National 10-Pin Coaches Association. Check that out. You have, obviously, the defending MEAC champion, North Carolina A&T. They're still in the conference for the pins in terms of bowling. So make sure that y'all don't get all upset. Yes, they're still in there for bowling. But they have, obviously, number 14. You have Delaware State remained at number 14, with Morgan State making its first appearance, top 25 since 2010, coming in at number 16. The Bears have won 2 tournaments so far this season, are just one of 2 teams now ranked after being unranked in the preseason polls, the other being Lewis University. Maryland Eastern Shore is number 18, Monmouth is number 25, and rounding out the MEAC presence in the poll when you talk about that. So amazing when you look at all the talent in bowling in the MEAC. They are way up there when you talk about 5 teams being ranked in the top 25. What is that? A fifth of the poll?
And that's fascinating to me, especially when you take a look at a sport that a lot of African Americans have historically gravitated to with bowling. And then you have this tie-in with HBCU schools that are all nationally ranked. It's really fascinating to see that, because as far as I've grown up, I have known, people who have gone to the bowling alley and have honed their skills. It's almost like, a pool in that sense, that that's just one of those things that African Americans have consistently been a part of.
Yeah, Shivery's not dead. Let's get a little more love to the women out there in terms of volleyball. You had obviously FAMU win the SWAC over Jackson State, but you had Jackson State that was in the NIVC, that's the National Invitational Volleyball Championship Tournament. So they end their season with a first round record, but the fact that they got that extended, I think, is important as they got it in there. I know Delaware State was in this as well, as they lost to Boston College in terms of their great season. Obviously, Howard went into the NCAA tournament. Delaware State was in the finals against them, just like Jackson State was in the final against FAMU. I believe North Carolina A&T was also in this invitational for volleyball. So shout out to the women's teams, multiple teams getting postseason invite. I think that's impressive of where volleyball is going in HBCU sports, particularly at the Division I level with the MEAC and SWAC. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, extremely impressive. Anytime you do some postseason in your chosen sport and are able to extend out your season, it goes a long way for recruiting. So it's great to see that work out for Jackson State.
Yeah. Well, I know everybody excited. Y'all thought y'all were going to slide out with my Week 14 HBCU marching sports poll ranking. No, it's not over. We had a championship game, which means you had 2 bands that had to fight. Remember, in this poll ranking, it's not about your fan favorites. It's not about you going out there and sitting in your little chat boxes and telling all your alumni and sending the league, make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. Some of y'all voting 1, 2, 5, 6 times, different computer devices. I know how you do it to get the numbers up. That's okay. Not in this one. This is marching sport. You got to have a contest. So the bottom part of this pretty much stays the same. We'll get into it. At number 10, we got Alcorn State, the sounds of Dynamite getting it done in so many different ways. Let me give them some love. And then obviously you have at number 9, South Carolina State marching 101, 3-2 on the season, 1-1, 20 points. So we'll have a top 10 matchup between South Carolina State and Jackson State. We'll see where they are in terms of this matchup. At number 8, you have Prairie View A&M marching Storm. They did lose in terms of this matchup. So they finished the season 2-3. Not a lot of matchups for them. They sit at 29 points. They do stay at 8 in terms of the overall ranking, which lets you know what Jackson State did, but we'll see if that helped them anyways in the poll. At number 7, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, the Marching Storm at 2-1. 0-1 in the conference race, 30 points. They stay right there at number 7. Bringing us to number 6, which is Alabama State, the mighty Marching Hornets, 5-2, 1-3. Tremendous season. It looks like in this case, it's still, the East is still finding a way to get it done in a lot of ways. I'm getting nervous about all this Eastern Division love, but let me get in here. I want to get into the top 5 to see if we can break up any of this. At number 5, we have Kentucky State, the mighty Marching Thoroughbreds, find a way to jump in there with what some people would call the big boys, but we call it the major division versus the mid-major. And in marching sports, we only have one poll, so they're all mixed in there. Kudos for Kentucky State to get it done. At number 4, Norfolk State, the Spartans Legion Marching Band. Too bad they don't get to showcase themselves in the Celebration Bowl as they were edged out. That loss to South Carolina State put that game that they had at the end of the season that might have determined it wasn't even in that situation. Both teams, as John Grant said, come in undefeated, but they are in the top 5. At number 3, Jackson State, the Sonic Boom of South, 7-2, 4-2. They improved 81 points. They do move a little closer to FAMU. That was so long ago. If they get it done in this game, do they get a bump up? Can they find a way, even though the head-to-head wasn't there? And now with, it'll be 10 matchups with quality. They would go to 8 if they can get it done to 1-on-1. Just as FAMU, 5-1, 3-1, only played in 6. Not a lot of contests. Didn't get the chance to get to the SWAC championship game. Would have gave them another one if they could have found a way to win that. Then they would have had 8 on the resume, and you would take away at least 2 from Jackson State. So it's interesting to see how they plays out, that you need these matchups. In a lot of ways, marching sport is similar to what's on the gridiron in this case, that you got to win to get in. Southern, the Human Jukebox, they travel a lot. They get it done. Credit to them. They got 8 games in, 5-0, undefeated. Can Jackson State make a major statement in front of everybody and leapfrog? So it's still time, still room to see what will go on, because we'll have the final poll released. You saw this past Tuesday. We gave our final poll at the mid-major. We do it on purpose to make sure mid-major programs can get that type of love. They got it done when you talk about Bowie State Bulldogs in terms of the mid-major division champions. Shout out to the Bulldogs, giving them so much love. Damian Wilson, Coach Damian Wilson there, was on the show to get his accolades, and we'll make sure that we're excited about that. Charles, what are your thoughts on the marching sport poll? Week number 14, we only have one left.
Dr. Grill, I had someone come up to me talking about the band poll, and they said, you have hit on something. You need to see some battles. You can't just sit off over there and not travel and play at home. You got to see some battles. You touched on something. Jackson State has been through some battles this season in terms of traveling. So it'll be interesting to see if they can leapfrog. Let me say kudos to Prairie View. Tremendous field show this past weekend at the SWAC Championship. They had me playing the whistles on Sunday and Monday from what they did this past Saturday. So kudos to them. But and this is a Prairie View fan who came up to me and said this: I finally got an opportunity to see the Sonic Boom up close, and the tradition of coming in to get ready as the game gets ready to start. We came to play the end of the third quarter, playing the show. All that plays into it, and I'm huge on fan engagement, and that's something that the Sonic Boom of the South is tremendous at, rallying up their fan base, ginning up their fan base into a lather. Southern does it tremendously as well, but that is part of the whole pageantry of college football, of the marching sport and everything. So tremendous kudos to the Sonic Boom of the South. I think at one point I'm looking at the game on TV, and they're blowing in the background, and Jay Walker makes a comment, this place is lit. And that's what it's about. That's what the band is there to really be that 12th man.
Oh, well done. Well done. I'm glad that you brought all that in the fray. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. So I'm glad that people recognize it and saying that. We do it different here on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We try to give you a different perspective. So all those viewers, we love you. We appreciate what you do. Our lab listeners, it's because of you and the way that you have celebrated. And let me shout out again, a special thanks to Jackson State University, Jackson, the city, and the state of Mississippi in terms of the cultural diaspora, particularly African-American Black folks. Everybody was included, but the way that you felt the HBCU culture was there, loud and clear, the tailgate, inside the game, pre-game, post-game, all of it, night before, flights in and everything. It was an homage of what we talk about when we talk about the sporting HBCU aspect, the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics. So I wanted to give a special shout out to the culture, and particularly for those fans in Jackson that made everybody that came in there feel very welcome. Those that were not just a part of Jackson or Jackson State University. I didn't hear anybody have any problem in any way, no matter what the outcome of the game was. It was good, clean, fun in that perspective. And I think that was important. You heard Dion talking about that from a city perspective. You came in and gave a shout out to a gentleman that's working on that. So I did want to acknowledge that.
And I want to, take my hat off to the Southwestern Athletic Conference in terms of the strategic planning and things that went into this SWAC championship game. A tremendous job. You didn't even hear an issue with regards to the parking that has been, sometimes reared its ugly head with regards to Jackson State games. But to see my city of birth, Jackson, Mississippi, host this SWAC championship game, to experience the HBCU culture in full blast. It was tremendous. I had a moment where I just kind of stood back and kind of took it all in. And it was just beautiful to watch from the tailgate to the anticipation of the bands walking in to the game itself. And then, of course, Jackson State being able to get the win. But the city of Jackson, which when you go back to this past spring, water issues, things of that nature, for them to be able to explode in this culture, this HBCU cultural celebration, I can't say enough about it. And I'm happy that Jackson, Mississippi got an opportunity to experience.
Yeah, you said about that parking. I'm glad you said about the parking because I need to give a shout out to Mr. Earl Jemison. Quiet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A mighty stature in terms of what he does behind the scenes, particularly when it goes into parking. He has a brilliant mind in terms of understanding dynamics. And I know he's quiet, reserved, but he stands large and looms when it talks about getting it done from a business perspective. So I need to make sure I pay homage to him in terms of what he does. I know he'll be a little torqued about that, but sometimes you need to make sure people understand that they deserve to be acknowledged. G League Squadron reached the deal in Miles College. Great partnership between the HBCU and the city and the G League in Birmingham. I want to see how that goes on. It's going to be a great opportunity for Miles College, particularly students, because they're going to get to work in that arena. I know we talked about that before, but I wanted to give a shout out to President Bobby Knight of Miles College for being in a position to make that happen. I think that's big. We'll shut it down. We'll be back. We'll get into the numbers starting on Sunday, and the rest of the week we'll have a slow climax, but we'll get you into the game. We kind of wanted to get on some other things, bring some people to you and tell you about the business, the aesthetics this week, and save next week to get into the numbers so we can lather you up. So stick with us. Appreciate all the lab listeners. Shout out to all these folks getting in here done. I didn't get the chance to shout out too many names, but you know how we do it. Charge it to the heart, not the mind. But let me see. Maybe I can get a couple of folks in here in terms of what goes on. Jamie Walker's in the house. Great article, Jamie Walker. If you hadn't read that, G. Boom Holly.
Great read. Great read.
Go check that out. Good job there. Kate Johnson, as always, checking us out. Chuck Hunt. I want to make sure. Stan Hardy, congratulations. Look like you got a coach. Well done. Look forward to the battle and State Fair Classic and the rest of the season next year as the G-men seems like they ready to get back in the football business. Much love to them. Shout out to Southern University. They got their coach.
New head coach.
Congratulations. Much love to Dooley. Anytime you get a chance to go home, you will never hear me complain about it. I wish him the best, obviously, in terms of him moving forward. So shout out to Dwight Moore. Thaddeus Reed, appreciate the love when I was there and all the kindred spirits, man. You go hard on it, but you made sure that you showed good love. So appreciate you there, all kidding aside. So I want to shout out some of those folks in there and those that did shout out. We appreciate you. We love you. Keep up the good work. Stay safe. COVID is still out there. Be mindful. Stay safe for your family as you close out on the Celebration Bowl and in this holiday season. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Caville, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Let's go ahead and get Roy to come up on the screen, give him a shout out as he is in the background and running the shop. My JBN, my BCSN, we couldn't do it with him. Without him, I should say. And he's going to rep his Rattlers as they continue to get it done in so many different ways. We got basketball season. It's going to get interesting there for both men's and women's. They're not finished with the business. They got it done in volleyball. They're going to be back some more basketball. But we got a little team down there in Texas on the other side. We got a team down in Mississippi and Jackson. They're going to be in business, both on the men's and women's side, which is really scary. But with that said, again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. You know what we do on Sunday at 9. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the labs. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Caville, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's Inside the Sports Lab. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Roy?
Lecture.
Dismiss.